Good afternoon, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here. Savage Saturday 41 is what we're bringing you today, and it's a very special one. Not that it's 41, but because of what we're covering today. One of the most iconic Conan stories ever told in prose or in comics, and that is issue 100, The Death of Belit. All right, now this story started out in issue 58 of Conan the Barbarian. This introduced Belit and was the first part of the Queen of the Black Coast story, as told by Robert E. Howard and adapted by Roy Thomas, who turned this into a 3-year epic journey, filling in the time that they were said to spend together within this story, culminating in the final issue with Belit, issue 100. Well, it's not her final issue. She appears somehow in other ways, which we'll find out about at another time. But anyway, Belit, her death, and this run, this 3-year run, is what got me into Robert E. Howard. It's what got me reading his stories. It's what led me to seek this author out. Without these comics, I would have never found the Robert E. Howard stories, or Conan the Barbarian, Kull, Solomon Kane, Dark Agnes, Red Sonja, what all the horror stories that he's written. Just for a guy that only lived 30 years, he was so prolific and put out so much work. But none of it ever resonated as much as this. This story, to me, has it all when you're talking about Conan. It's got the supernatural. It's got love. It's got loss. It's got triumph. It's got endurance. And it's got having to move on at the end to a different direction and taking your life on a different course than what it's been. There's a lot that's covered in this story. And all of this just really showcases how complicated the Conan character is, how great this creation was, and that's why he's endured all these years for this long. I mean, absolutely amazing. So we can't talk about this issue without discussing this incredible cover by John Buscema and Ernie Chan, inked by Ernie Chan. Probably one of the most iconic covers to me ever in comics history, along with number 1 and number 24. But this cover is just amazing, and it went through a couple iterations. So John Buscema did a drop of it at first, and it didn't really, there was something that they didn't like about it. There was an emotion not there that they wanted, and I'll show you the original drawing that he came up with over here. And then Ernie Chan took a crack at it, and he did something special with the face, which then they had John Buscema do it again with some emotion until we got our final cover here. So this cover is just the personification of what a great team John Buscema and Ernie Chan are together. I will never ever think anyone would have been able to, even today's inkers, ink John Buscema's pencils better than Ernie Chan, in my opinion. The two of them together were magic. This issue, inside and out, is magic. And we'll discuss it. And before we do, though, I'm going to show you this. This is Conan Saga, all right? And this is a reprint magazine. And this is issue 95. Now, this cover is also a reprint. I believe it was on Savage Sword of Conan 265, but don't directly quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure that it's right around there, if not that issue itself. So great cover, but the cool thing about this magazine is it reprints this story in black and white. So not only do you get one of the most iconic stories ever told in its original color in issue 100, you get to see what it's like in like a Savage Sword of Conan format, and it's glorious. It's really good. And every time I show you a picture, I'm going to show you the color version, and then I'll show you the black and white version. And at the end, you let me know which one works better for you and why. Because, I don't know, I can't pick. There's things I love about them both, but they're great. But this issue starts out with Conan and Belit on the Black Coast, and starting with issue 58, she's always talked about finding this lost city and just reaping it of all its supposed lore and of the treasure it's supposed to have. And it's a single focus, and it's the major weakness of the character of Belit. She has a greed inside and a focus that when she gets fixated on something, nothing will quell that thirst for it. She's going to see it through to the end, whether it's for good or ill, and this time it costs her life. That's not a spoiler, it's on the cover. Belit dies. All right, so it's her, the Black Corsairs, Conan, and they're coming up on the coast. And she's got her advisor, N'Jonga, who's just a fabulous character. And it's great. When you read these issues, you see the respect that Conan and N'Jonga have for each other. And the one's an advisor who's very schooled and very smart, and his advice is often ignored by Belit, not to her benefit. You know, she should listen to him more. She'd probably still be alive. But so they're on these dark waters, and these dark waters, only reptiles and the foulest things live in them, and the water is undrinkable to man. So basically, they're sailing on a river of poison. And, you know, the Black River, it's just no good. But Belit tells him of a tale that, because Conan reminds her that she promised to tell him a tale when they arrived. It was about this ship that she was pursuing one time to raid, but the ship disappeared in the Black Coast. It came out days later with one guy on board left, stark raving mad, and he ended up dying on the ship after they found him. But after this story's told, you get an iconic moment between Conan and Belit. And you know, and there's a lot of the classic stuff, and some of what you see in the Conan the Barbarian movie is in here. And what's in here is what led me to a rage when I first saw the movie. But we'll get to that. We're not going to rush it. So she asked Conan, do you fear the gods? And this has come up a lot. This is from the original Robert E. Howard. He goes, I would not tread on their shadow. Conan is not a fearful man, but he's also has respect for gods and things of power. He's not stupid. He doesn't spit in the face of something. And especially if it's the gods, Conan's just good leaving them alone and having them leave him alone. And he's just fine with that. All right. And you also get the other great emotional thing, because these pages here just show the deep love that Conan has for Belit and that Belit has for Conan. And this is where you get the famous line. And I'm going to read a couple of these because they're just absolutely incredible. And, you know, she asks him, what of your gods? I've never heard you call on them for aid or only swear by them. And he says, their chief is Crom. He dwells on a great mountain. What use to call on him? Little he cares if men live or die. Better to be silent than to call his attention to you. He will send you dooms, not fortune. He is grim and loveless, but at birth he breathes power to strive and slay into a man's soul. What else shall men ask of gods? And it's a simple philosophy for Conan. And, you know, and Belit asks him, and what of life after death, my lover, she says. And he goes, I know not, nor do I care. I know only this, let me live deep while I live, while philosophers brood. I live, I burn with life, I love, I slay, and am content. And another line that is used out of this story by Robert E. Howard famously and a lot. And Belit says, yeah, the gods are real, and there is life after death, I know. I know this too, Conan of Samaria. My love is stronger than any death. My heart and soul are welded to yours. Were I still in death, and you fighting for your life, I would come back from the abyss to aid you. I am yours, Conan, yours, and all the gods and all their eternities shall not sever us. And this is just, to me, one of the most iconic moments in Conan lore and Conan history. The love that these two share, and I'm going to be showing you pictures, and you'll see the great emotion and the adept presentation of how John Buscema and Ernie Chan presented these characters. It's amazing. All the emotions there, you can see it in their faces, you can see it in the shadows, you can see it in the lines, and it tells a splendid story. And it tells a faithful adaptation with Roy Thomas's script and John Buscema and Ernie Chan. I just couldn't imagine anything more faithful than this. And I've read many adaptations of this, and to this day, nothing is better or more faithful to it than this Conan the Barbarian, issue 100. But let's get to what enrages me about the Conan the Barbarian movie. They use Valeria. I can only think they did that because she was blonde and not a brunette. But you have Baylet, and these are her. This is her love for Conan, and this is Conan's greatest love. He never loved anyone like he loved Baylet. Even once he got old, became a king, married Queen Zenobia, he still never loved her as much as he loved Baylet. This is the one love that just was all consuming for him. And in the movie, you have Valeria come back. You have her say the lines. And I remember as a kid, 12 years old, being absolutely enraged that they put the words of Baylet into another character's mouth. I just couldn't believe they did it, and I was so mad. I think I was mad at that movie for a good month after I saw it. I loved it, but I was mad that it wasn't Baylet and that they used Valeria. And there is nothing wrong with the Valeria character. She has her own great story in Red Nails, and I would have been mad if they took a Red Nails adaptation and put her words in Baylet's mouth. So these aren't hard things to get right, and there's things that they messed up in that movie that will forever bother me a little bit. But moving on. So you had this great moment with them on the ship, and then all of a sudden the giant snake, a serpent, comes out of the water, kills the lookout. Conan kills the snake that has him, but the snake takes the guy down in the water and drags him with him. And then you have the mass arrival on the island, and in this dense jungle, and they find the lost city. And she can tell there's a tomb there that has these weird handholds, not shaped for men's hands. And she lures Conan away and has the Black Corsairs lift up this thing, which has a trap on it, and tramples him. And Conan sees a little bit that the chase for this treasure is changing her. These Corsairs, the Black Coast, the Black River, and the Black Corsairs, it's all tied together, but it's all driving her a little bit insane because she can't see past her ultimate goal of getting this treasure. And she sacrifices 4 guys to expose the treasure. And it's not to Conan's liking. These are all good men, hard fighting men that Conan has fought side by side with. And it doesn't rest easy with him. And he's on a little bit on guard after that. So after these couple guys are killed, the rest of the Corsairs, they see this big giant winged bat flying from the ship, the Tigris, right? And Conan runs back to the ship. He can't believe that they forgot to leave someone there on guard. All the water's smashed and broken, and he's like, this is not good. This could be our doom. And you see this very weary Baylet, who was just ecstatic a moment ago, finding these blood red rubies that Conan only thinks looks like drops of blood. And she's got the treasure she always wanted. Everybody else around her is secondary at the moment to her. And then she looks really sad after he lets her know the news that all their water supply, it's gone. She says, very well, I'll get the treasure on board. And they're trucking back towards the Tigris after Conan had come back to get the Black Corsairs and go back. And he tells Angora to halt. He's going to go up ahead. He hears something in the woods, and he doesn't want to put the crew and the men in danger. Conan's code of ethics, his code of honor, never changes. All right, these are the guys that fight by him side by side. He saved their life. They've saved his life. There is a bond there. He wouldn't sacrifice him the way Baylet did just a few pages ago. But he tells Angora and the rest of the Black Corsairs to go ahead. And he hangs behind to see what the danger is. But the danger is this plant that's kind of alive, and it has the Black Lotus on it. And if the Black Lotus um, touches the juice, if you drink it, it kills you. But the scent of it will put you into like these hallucinatory fever dreams. But this dream is like no dream he's had. He can't stay awake. He passes out, and he sees where this giant winged ape came from. That it used to be these people, these advanced civilization that lived on this island, that built this temple that is now in disrepair. And there was a great earthquake and a great rumbling and a great eruption of a volcano, and it just wrecked all their stuff. The black water that was poisonous came in. They were drinking it. It gradually turned them into these winged apes, and they killed each other off, except for the one survivor, of course, who's still there on the island, guarding everything that's there, mindlessly, and just lives to slay. So Conan's been passed out for a while, and he wakes up after this fever dream, and when he comes to, he's trekking through the jungle, and he's calling out for Angora and the Corsairs and Beylit, and he finally comes across Angora, but Angora's been driven mad. There's something wrong with him, and he dives at Conan and kill him, and Conan has no choice but to slay this close friend of his, and it's really tragic, and there's no pleasure taken from Conan doing this act. Just he had to do it to survive, and you can see just the dread on his face and the sadness that he just lost his friend to this island, which something drove him insane, and Conan doesn't have the answers. So he's already had this dream. He's already seen a change in the woman he loves, and he just had to slay a close friend, someone who he's fought side by side with, and it's just taking its toll on him. And then he has a more sense of something wrong, and he just starts racing back, and he comes across the shore, and at the shore, all the black corsairs are laid out. These men who are his brothers, they're dead. They're slaughtered to a man. And the only one unaccounted for is Beylit. And he gets on the ship, and there she is, hanging by the jewels that she was plundering. And she is dead. And that finished breaking Conan's heart. And he took her down, laid her to rest, covered her with a sheet, and put the jewels around her. And you just see this brooding Conan afterward. And you can also see the vengeance that's in his eyes. He just lost all his friends and the love of his life. And he knows he's being watched in the jungle. And these group of jackals come out that the giant bat ape controls. And Conan's got a bow and arrow, and he's feathering them, and he's taking them down. And he finishes them off. Once he's out of arrows, he takes his sword to him. And Conan is just all rage at this moment. It's all he's got left. And as he's slaying them, and when he kills the last one, he's like, where is the monster that slew my mate? And he is just enraged, and he just finishes murdering this pack of hyenas until he spots the giant winged ape in the air, and he's off. He grabs his sword and he's gone. But the ape has saw him, and the ape is chasing him. And Conan ends up having to jump because the ape is bringing the city down around him, the structure. And Conan is trapped under a pillar that has collapsed. His sword just out of reach, and this thing looks fierce, and it's coming to kill him. And we harken back to Beylit's words: "Were I in death, I would still come back to aid you if your life were in danger." And she comes back, this apparition in Beylit, and she sticks the man ape with a sword, giving Conan enough time to free himself and finally slay the beast. Then we get to the end of our issue, and you see the weariness in the man. You see this guy who's lost all his friends, his crewmates, these people who he spent years with, grew close to, his brothers. He lost the love of his life. Someone that would get the most love Conan ever had to give to someone was to her, and it was unequaled and unmatched. And he sets the tigress out on fire and gives them a burial at sea. And it's sad, and in the last panel you just see Conan watching this burning ship with a tear running down his face, and The end of a splendid story, and what a great tale. Like I said, you saw everything, right? You saw Conan's bond with these brothers that he spends his ship on, his life on the ship on for those 3 years. This crew, to a man that is like a brother to him, that he's fought side by side with, that he's protected and they protected him. Beileit, who he's loved this whole 3 years. And you see all this in one story, all these different phases. You see his rage, you see his vengeance, you see the softer side of Conan, you see the submissive side to Beileit, you see the respectful side to these friends and brothers that he's lived 3 years with. And you also see the impact of the loss of all of them with Conan. And it is just absolutely fantastic. I'm going to also throw up some concept art that they did for Beileit to begin with, just because it's cool and fun. But that's our review for this week, guys. It's one of my all-time favorite Conan stories, and it's a classic for a reason. So until next time, keep it casual.